Yeah, like I was gonna say, like, this is kind of, I don't want to say a grudge match, but there is a lot of history between these teams, between these players here. Victor, as we know, it's been the big news, the former BTK member, a member of that legendary M3 BTK team, gonna be here on the side of Avalon.
Yeah, I love how you're talking about the history. If we break it down a little bit, right? Victor hasn't been playing in the professional scene recently, but now taking a step back, has former world experience and definitely a vital part of the team. So far, we've been seeing him competing, and he's done phenomenal, right? We've seen his units on point, cutting around and doing what the team needs to give him the slightest advantage, especially when we saw them go up against Area 77. Now, looking at BTK, a little bit of a roster change, right? You notice they don't have Joy Baj over there. They don't have Warrior. So they don't really have what we traditionally see them use as a roamer. They're going to possibly sub in Chicken to possibly fill that role. But we all know he kind of shines better in other positions. We didn't really see the strongest performance from him yesterday, but overall as a team, they still dominated. And I think it just boils down to synergy with them all playing together almost every day. It's something that you really can't beat unless you have time.
Well, when we're talking about kind of shakeups, I almost want to say, as far as kind of shaking it up and having somebody be flexible, if there was anybody I was going to pick on the Bloodthirsty Kings, it would be Chicken. M3, he played marksman role. Ever since M3 and beyond there, he's been in the XP lane, and he's played both of those roles very good. So if there's anybody I would be looking to get flexible to actually have success in which I don't think it's a new role for him, but if you want somebody to have success there, I would go for Chicken, because he seems to be a little bit more fluid in where he can fit in and where he can have success. On the other side, we have Toinks. He's no slouch in the roam position. I believe last season he was the roam for Ackerman as well. So he does know the position. But I want to say, for me, AVL, I want to say those are some big shoes to fill when it comes up to this top of the mountain. The top two teams in North America, we're going to see if Avalon can duplicate the success they had against Area 77 here against, I mean, arguably one of the strongest teams here in North America.
Yeah, some excellent points there, right? Even though Chicken's not traditionally seen on the roam, one thing that we have to pay attention to is his IQ on the playing field and his shot calling. I definitely feel it's a vital part when it comes to helping BTK close out these victories, and you're going to have to watch out for it, as we are going to go ahead and see the first bans be finalized. Kadita, Baxia, Fredrin taken off the table for Avalon. On the other side of the table, though, the X-Borg, the Faramis, and the Eve.
Yeah, interesting here. We were talking before, when it came to the last draft, it felt like the priority was on those XP laners, because it almost seems like the first person to get the pick has, at least they have one answer, and that is a dominating performance in the XP lane at the very least. Here, Bloodthirsty Kings kind of traded that in. They went for the Navaria, so they're going to have that sniping power. They're going to have that poking ability, which we've seen, especially in the hands of those skilled players, able to kind of burn people down before the engagements even start. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how that plays in. But I mean, strong pickups here for Avalon with the Valentina and the Marta. So you're gonna have that flexibility in Valentina, and then that early game pressure from Martis.
Right, and I mean, it's no secret, right? Mobazane, definitely one of the best farmers when it comes to jungling for North America, and you're gonna have to find a way to kind of disrupt his path. If he gets comfortable, he definitely can be a problem. Now, looking at what we see slotted in, we have the Martis with the Valentina, and I like that composition, right? You have the Terrify, you can stop people from invading your jungle, and you also have the Martis with the Mortal Coils for the Chain CC, so you can pretty much guarantee that at least they can get their buffs when it comes down to it. Something that I notice when top teams go against BTK, such as TOB, they like to focus on stopping Zane in the jungle. Usually you see the roamer kind of mirror where he goes and always keeps an eye on him. That could be a possible gameplay for Avalon. I'm excited to see where this goes, but you mentioned Victor, right? He has been on Mobazane's team before, but now he's pitted against him, and maybe he can provide some valuable assets that the team needs to take him down.
The one thing where I've seen where Victor shines is his ability to kind of multitask. He's just like Mielo, he's able to kind of handle his lane, get into almost every single fight, and when he's not in a team fight. He's doing something. He's clearing a lane. He's pushing a tower. And then he's going to be able to kind of find his way back there, maybe at the end, to kind of get a flank on the team there. It's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. You brought up that a lot of the compositions that people like, the ones that have had success against BTK, have been those ones that stop his farming. His biggest attribute is his ability to get gold. Even when he's behind, he's always farming, always out farming the enemy jungler here. Avalon, I want to say kind of a good plan here, because you have in that a Martis, somebody who shines in the early game. Maybe we can start putting pressure on the jungle of Zayn in the early game here as we're moving into the second banning phase here.
That's right, and I mean, we are seeing both fighters on the table so far. The Terizla put up against the Uranus. Both fighters that kind of dominate in their lane, right? You have the Uranus who has high mobility, survivability. It can definitely cut those lanes. You have the Terizla who can fight up close and personal and also has set potential. Drops down with the penalty zone to open up the engagements. Both sides have answers on the board. Marksman has been shown for BTK. They are going to pick up this Brody. They picked it up a little early, but it definitely can profit, right? You're looking at a full, pretty much frontline composition. Even the Eve or the Valentina has to kind of play a little up close and personal outside of the IMU. And speaking of the IMU, there's not really too many ultimates so far on the playing field for Demon to even profit on.
Yeah, but that's not all that the Valentina could bring, and that's kind of the problem with picking up a Valentina is. When the enemy has Valentina, you have to kind of work against that. You have to kind of pick abilities that she won't be able to really shine off of. And then you also have to worry about the mobility and the damage that she brings from that mid to late game. Ooh, Moba Zayn. And this is something that I think a lot of people have been wanting to see. There's been critiques about how he only goes for tanky junglers. But man, is his Paquito a treasure to behold when it comes to a lot of these fights. He has the mechanical ability to really make this hero shine. We're going to see what the answer we have possibly for the side of Avalon.
And this is kind of looking similar to yesterday, right? When they went up against Aggravate 1, they had the Paquito and Chicken ran this Edith as well, and it profited. They dominated that match, and they were able to push forward a clean sweep. This is a different team, though. This is Avalon, who's a little bit higher on that totem pole, and possibly can make this work in their favor, as we are going to see the last pick slotted in to complete this draft. Basic is going to go ahead and slot up that Claude.
So what I'm seeing from Avalon here is we have a pretty thick front line here. I'm a little worried about Basic, what his target is as a Claude. You're going to be able to kind of get back there. If you're looking to kind of burst down Navaria, it depends on how the Navaria is played. I almost feel like Navaria's got a decent amount of kip to be able to kind of create that distance. As soon as that blazing duet comes in, she'll be able to kind of get out of harm's way. What else are you left with on the side of BTK? But a lot of tankier heroes. You've got Brody there, but he's going to be able to go ahead, throw that stun on the Claude, create that distance as well. However, that might work in the favor of Avalon when it comes to zoning them out. But we're ready here right now, Weezy.
That's right, we are ready as we are now jumping into game number 1. BTK up against Avalon in a best of 3. Whoever moves forward will go on to the winners finals. The other team will be knocked down to the lower bracket.
Yeah, a lot of history here between all of these players. Basic and Victor have already played with Zayn before. You can see Zayn already coming in here down to his purple buff, and a lot of pressure already from Avalon.
Yeah, pressure. Doesn't make diamonds, though. Chicken is going to flicker out just in time. Almost caught an early death, but able to escape with 1 HP.
Yeah, you can see T doing a great job. That's what you want from the Uranus. Is trying to get some pressure, get some cuts, but Avalon kind of taking the opposite approach. While you have the Uranus trying to cut lanes, immediately you're gonna have Avalon going in there and trying to put some pressure on the Zayn so now you're gonna have T. He's gonna be thinking about this every single time he wants to cut lane. He's gonna need to ensure that he has made it safe for Moba Zayn, made it safe for his jungle to be able to kind of rotate around there.
And you see Zayn already not wasting any time, almost hitting that level 4, getting ready for this first mutual objective. But Avalon's still playing pretty safe. Nobody's fallen so far. Still anybody's game. But we all know this can change in the blink of an eye. We've seen TOB, a team that kind of dominates and closes in the early game, but we got to see how BTK kind of fares, especially with the new additions and the substitutions.
No, Moba Zayn putting on some damage.
Yeah, definitely putting on some damages with that heavy left punch. Right now, though, we got to see where it goes. We're looking at ISO, we're looking at basic, both kind of late game marksmans. The Brody can kind of profit a little bit better in the early phase, definitely keeping basic at bay. But when it comes to survivability, both of them have that at the table, right? You have the BMI from the Claude when they do try and gank around to take him down. And then you also have the corrosion strike from the Brody to be able to get that stun and flicker backward when things are not in your favor. So I love what I'm seeing so far. Textbook drafting from both teams.
Yeah, and they're doing such a great job. When it comes to the composition, too, we've got a lot of heavy CC on the side of Avalon, too, which is where Paquito sometimes has some problems. Whether you're going to be getting feared from Demon on this, and you see Tarzan able to go ahead, pick up that first objective. But we do know, we've seen it before. Bloodthirsty Kings, they play to their strengths. There's a lot of times where their early game isn't great, but they are still constantly macroing up, getting that gold, and doing what they need to do to make sure that when they hit their power spikes, they are basically an unstoppable snowball rolling down the hill. Still no kills in the 3-minute mark.
You know, and still no kills, but Avalon was able to get that turtle to give him that additional XP boost. But when you're looking at the gold, BTK is still leading. They're still able to kind of find answers across the table to even up the playing field. You know, I really want to see how this plays out, right? But Avalon, they're doing okay. BTK, same thing. It's just going to boil down to who makes that first mistake. Looking at the marksmen, I would probably put some pressure in the gold lane for both sides. Try and take down the ADC. I think that's where you start, but look at basic already clearing out that farm to be able to rotate around the map and try and outscale ISO.
Yeah, and good here. I was just about to ask, too. You've cleared out the farm. Are you going to make something happen here? And it looks like they do with the wild charge.
Huge knockup on the ISO. Torn apart memories does go down. Some damage on the Twinks. Maybe able to pick up the kill, but basic in the bush, waiting to strike alongside Demon. Chicken does kind of help him out, kite the damage, and allow ISO to go back for the recall.
Look at T just taking a little bit of a visit into the Avalon base right now. We've seen this before with Uranus. Big fight happening here at mid.
Yeah, Zane getting a little bit of an overextension, maybe costly, very low. Flicker in from Demon, securing first blood, takes down Moba Zane, the jungler for BTK.
Yeah, if ever, we were talking about it before, if ever there was a time for an upset to happen on BTK, this would be it, where you have some heroes not in the complete...
Whoa!
Not on their most comfortable heroes. T just chilling. He's taking a little bit of a siesta in the Avalon base there.
He's taking a selfie with the cannon minions right now, but speaking of cannons, huge wild charge, knock up on the ISO. Basic trying to secure the kill, but Twinks is going to take it. 2-0. Fried Chicken is going to find Basic to respond, though. That means both marksmen have fallen. But again, another turtle going to Avalon.
Yeah, another turtle, and right now, but this is what we were talking about. The early game, that one minion, the hero minion up there trying to take down Uranus up there. Chicken, I was about to say, Chicken having a little bit of a rough of an early game, but like I said, this kind of composition, we're kind of looking for the mid game to kind of be able to pop off. When we're comparing the marksmen here right now, I want to say we do have the Blade of Hephaestus on Brody. Claude still looking for that first item. Looks like he might be going for the a Demon Hunter or possibly a little bit of slow out there as well. But gold not too far ahead. BTK doing a good job despite these setbacks to be able to kind of keep up that farm.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of farming and survivability, you've seen that BMI in full effect from Basic, able to get out just in time before a set happened from Chicken. Now, Demon Hunter Sword just got picked up from Basic, so yes, he'll be able to kind of soak into the beefier composition to higher HP hero pools. When I'm looking at ISO, though, right, you said he picked up that Blade of Hephaestus, which means he's trying to get that early aggressive stance and quick pickoff with that burst damage. So you are going to have to watch out for that. Right now, 1-2 on the scoreboard and 6 minutes in. Mind you, the last series that we watched only lasted, like, what, a 10-minute game? We're already 6 minutes in, and there's only 3 kills total, which means this is going to be textbook and drawn out, which is what you like to see. It lets you know these teams are focusing on what matters, the neutral objectives, and playing it safe.
The only problem I have right now is that we're not able to create... Oh, big pop-up.
Oh, and a huge play to take the turret, possibly. You're going to see Tarzan force him out, though. Chicken in the middle of the battlefield. Demon is going to find ISO, but ISO takes down Twinks as he falls. Chicken will flicker backwards, still hitting Victor in the Primal Wrath, but now Basic with the Blazing Duet into the back line, maybe able to take down Chicken. There goes one. BMI's out of the turret and goes back to safety.
So while we're having this success on Avalon, there's something you need to factor in. Every single one of these fights is a 4v5 because T is just steadily sitting here getting farmed up. Now, what you have to wonder, are you creating enough presence? Are you creating enough distance between you and BTK before T starts getting involved in here? Because it's going to be a completely different game once he starts getting involved in a lot of these fights.
There goes T on the Uranus. What we like to say is the unkillable, but oh my goodness! He sustains all of that damage and already almost topped back off the full HP.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about. He's been sitting up there gathering gold. Avalon has been ignoring him. They've been focusing, trying to make Bloodthirsty Kings pay. But now when we start evening this out, once it becomes a 5v5, are you going to have the same success?
Yeah, you know, I'm asking the same question. I mean, looking at the map so far, things that are working in Avalon's favor is they took both, they took the turret on the top side, and that mid lane is hanging on by a hair. Right now, BTK is having a little bit of a struggle, taking these neutral objectives, taking these turrets, and they gotta find a way to turn this around, because so far, this is in Avalon's favor.
I want to say, like, when it comes to the XP lane, that T's doing a good job of playing Victor's game, where Victor kind of shines in the meta when it comes to kind of cutting those lanes. He's just doing it faster and harder than he is. A big engagement happening here at the purple buff, though. That's
right, an invasion on the way, trying to shut down the farm from Mobazane, the Jungle King for North America. So far, still a 4-2 scoreboard, 8 minutes in. But Avalon having the slightest advantage, but may turn around in the mid lane as you are seeing a battle in the river. Victor, Immortality has been procced to use the penalty zone to get out. Tarzan with the motor coils. Ooh. Does not escape the wrath of Mobazane. Bursts him down with the heavy left punch. Can he get another basic? Will claim the turret on the top side, though. That will be the tier 2. Even more of the map opening up for Avalon's favor.
Yeah, are we going to be able to convert some of these kills into a tower? We see two members trying to get involved here at the mid struggle.
And this is their chance, right? It's just Demon in the mid lane, but you are starting to see them sandwich in. Huge knockup on a basic. Demon finds Mobazane. Yato finds basic. 3 members down for Avalon, 1 member down for BTK. Yato with a double kill is going to find Demon. Scoreboard is now 5-5.
Yeah, signs of life. This is where the power spike's starting to happen for the Bloodthirsty Kings. We're at the 9-minute mark. T is a huge tank here, at about the same level as Zane. And look at him, deep into the enemy's purple buff, not letting Did he get that? Okay. Tarzan's still able to get it. I was about to say, if that got sniped by Yato, that would have been a huge, like, a tone set for Avalon.
You know, right now, I feel like this is kind of a battle of the mid lane and the mages. I mean, look at Demon, 3-1-1, and on the opposite side of the playing field, Yato's 2-0-3. Both of them leading the way for kills on their teams. Definitely what you want to do. We've seen Demon kind of be one of the strongest mages when it comes to the NACT fall season, but Yato at the top of the ladder, he's giving them a run for his money. It's kind of like they're kind of trading an eye for an eye so far, but you are going to see Demon falling once. Yato still hasn't died.
Yeah, and that's going to be the biggest thing here is while some people on the BTK have been taking some kills, Yato hasn't died, still getting golded up there. Oh, Victor actually in a little bit of trouble here.
Oh, they're risking it all, trying to take down Victor. Torn apart memories goes down. The chase from T to secure the kill takes him down. Victor has fallen, but more blood may be on the way. Avalon on the run, trying to go back to safety. Phone home as BTK has invaded their jungle.
Ooh, a little bit, I don't want to say a misplay, but Zane decided to kind of try to chase down Tarzan when they did kind of have Demon. It's almost kind of like a double-edged sword. Who are you going to chase? Are you going to chase somebody who's got the movement speed of Demon on that Valentina, or are you going to try to go for Tarzan, who can basically mortal coil his way away from any CC that you could put on him? But in answer to that, now they are starting that macro push that BTK has been known for, and that snowball effect starting to take its way here at the 11-minute mark.
And I think it's fair to say that BTK has flipped this around in their favor, right? They are now holding the keys to having the advantage in this match. Avalon now on the back end, which was once working for them, is now working against them, as we are going to see this Lord push his way through the mid lane.
Yeah, well, what you have right now is Victor isn't as farmed because what Avalon was trying to do in the early game was trying to punish Mobazane. So Victor wasn't actually getting as much farm. Oh, a little bit of engagement. Tarzan in trouble.
Not going to escape the torn apart memories as ISO is going to secure the kill. Eyes on the prize. And going to go ahead and claim that tier 2 turret on the top side. This is not looking good. BTK has found their rhythm, and Avalon needs to find a way to shut it down.
Yeah, and it's all started with that camp out from T in the Avalon base here. We're going ahead, starting to put some moves on the bottom turret.
Whoa, conceal play, and the set chicken coming alive, takes down Basic. But the battle on the purple buff demon is going to find ISO, finds the ADC for BTK. That is going to be a 2-for-1 trade, but Macy, another T, frontlining the damage, just showing you the power of this Uranus as the Astro Echo goes out from Yato.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate for Avalon. When you allow Uranus to kind of sit in your base, far up there, what you need to do, another pop-up.
Ooh, huge knockup. Yato's raining some damage from afar with this Navaria, right? He's just playing in the background. They need to kind of pay attention to him. He might get that snipe on Victor if he's not careful. Immortality has been proc. Sniper goes out, connects, but not enough damage.
I like the patience on Yato. He was going to wait for that immortality to proc before he sent out that sphere. But, I mean, a little bit too tanky on the side of Victor there to be taken down by that. Yato, one-man army versus 3 members of Avalon.
Yeah, nonetheless, this is still a good match, right? 13 minutes in, 8-6, not a high kill game, just a battle of mechanics and a battle of the objectives. So far, BTK still having a little bit of the cutting edge, but Avalon, they are looking promising. You know, as we kind of trickle into the late game, it may work in their favor as we are now seeing some of the items pop up on the board.
Yeah, we can see here, I mean, most of the members of BTK right now have about a 2K lead on their counterparts in Avalon. You can see a lot of these, I mean, Yato already 4 items for him right now when compared to Demon. Oh, well, actually, I think Demon's doing all right. He's got about the same amount there. It's just that, I don't know, both of these, it's going to be on these mages and who can protect each other. Oh, big wild charge.
Yep, huge knockup, Terrify, Astro Echo from afar, Blazing Duet from Basic, but immobilized Demon takes down ISO. ISO finds Basic before he falls. A double kill from Demon as he picks up the Divine Glaive. 6-1-1, a wizard for Team Avalon.
Yeah, a big play for Avalon. This actually might be able to help them get some room to secure this lore. But as we say that, T has other ideas. The big, monstrous, tanky T has come to play.
Yeah, look at him just chasing down Tarzan. T is definitely comfortable, right? He knows it's going to take a lot to burst him down. He's just trying to soak up all the damage and make them bait out their skills. But speaking of skills, Twinks very low. T will shut him down. But Zane not able to get away. Demon does secure a mega kill, increasing his KDA to a 7-1-1 lead. But Tarzan very low. T on the chase. Demon and Basic to allow him to get back to safety.
Still a pretty even game. I don't want to say that Bloodthirsty Kings have like a commanding lead, just under 4K for them. What we're looking for now is who can take this next fight and get an advantage on the Lord. Both teams missing a person, so it's going to be a 4v4 fight here. I want to say, as far as a team fight goes, you need to have an answer for T. He's going to be able to tank. He's going to be able to zone out the Avalon team. We're going to see if they have what it takes for this next Lord fight.
Yes, it is on the way. Both teams trying to get the aggro and also claim the zone for the Lord Pit, as it is now at about 50% HP. Looking at Victor, taking a lot of damage. Chicken pitted against him. They were once teammates, but now enemies. But on the bottom lane, T, very low, still able to sustain himself with the consecration, gets back out and gets back up to 50% HP.
And this is exactly what I was talking about. T, one-man army, zoning out the entirety of Avalon with that Uranus, taken down very low, but he did his job. He distracted Avalon while the Bloodthirsty Kings were able to pick up that Lord. Now, Avalon has another problem in the form of a Luminous Lord coming up top and Bloodthirsty Kings with Win behind their heels.
Right, and, you know, they are a team known to be able to close it out with just that. At the 16-minute mark, I wouldn't say it's really an early finish, but it still may be a possible one if Avalon is not careful. There goes the conceal play. Are going to probably try and get a pick off, but a little bit of a wasted opportunity. But nonetheless, they still have the Lord to work in their favor.
Yeah, they did get, not too much of a waste. They were able to get some vision, clear out some bushes, make sure that this next push goes off without a hitch. Now Lord goes ahead, clears out the top high ground tower as we're pushing, looking for a fight at mid.
Yeah, they are going to go ahead and take the mid inhibitor as well, leaving the bottom by itself, but now trying to seize the opportunity for some possible kills. Lord does get bursted down from Basic, but BTK still maintaining their focus and presence inside of the base for Avalon. Do they pull their punches?
I mean, it looks like they've gotten what they wanted. They're probably going to go ahead, put some pressure on. They're going to look for this bottom tower. This is going to be the chance for Avalon to maybe counter something here, but it doesn't look like BTK is going to give them that opportunity.
4-man Astro Echo provided over there from Yato. ISO is going to claim the last inhibitor for the bottom side. BTK pushing through to the base crystal. Avalon trying to hold him off. Minions on the top and the bottom lane. Base at 50% HP. BTK trying to close it out at 17 minutes. ISO finds Toinks. Moba Zane finds Basic. That is both marksmen's down. Demon is going to find ISO unstoppable. That is going to be a 1-for-3 trade as Yato finds Demon. Killing spree has been activated. Astro Echo for the 2-man connection on a Victor and Tarzan. And down goes Victor. Immortality has been procced. The emote is out from Chicken. You were once my friend, but you are now my enemy. And down goes Tarzan. A full wipeout for BTK, claiming victory in Game 1 against Avalon.
And that is why we call it the snowball. Once BTK, they had a little bit of a problem with the early game. They were waiting to get farmed up. This is a team who understands the heroes that they play to such a degree that they know when those power spikes are coming. They know when they start having these team fights. They held off. They were starting to take a little bit of punishment in that early game while T was inside enemy base, getting farmed up, getting all of those items that he needed. And once they had the advantage, once they knew those spikes were going to hit, it was a downhill there for Avalon.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a good match though, right? I wouldn't say it was one-sided, but slowly started working into BTK's favor once we got closer to after that 15-minute mark. They were just able to kind of slowly take these objectives in their favor. You mentioned T cutting. I mean, 207 didn't have the highest kills, but it was just the presence that he provided from those cuts to delay the team from pushing out and creating the opportunity to see some real estate for BTK, as we are seeing it 15-10 on the scoreboard.
I was about to say, there's no way that T doesn't get the rich guy for this one. He was basically camping out. He saw an open window in the house of Avalon, was inside there, eating all their food, sleeping in their beds, messing with their tables there. And you can see here at the last fight, this is where Basic goes in, tries to get this blazing duet, and absolutely gets annihilated. Watch at the bottom here. Basic goes in, blazing duet, and the entire team collapses on him quickly, takes him out, and Mobazane puts the finishing touches on him. Just an amazing and dominating push there for BTK.
That's what we call target prioritization at its finest, right? BTK just knowing exactly who to focus. Oh my goodness, look at Yato, the snipe from afar, takes down Demon. Just some beautiful synergy from the number 2 team so far in the NACT fall.
Yeah, and then you can see here, T gold per minute, 773 there. Damage taken, I believe, I'm not sure. Yeah, T 223,000 there. Just all BTK when it comes to the stats. Like you said, it wasn't exactly a steamroll, but I want to say that there weren't too many points where BTK felt like they were out of their strategy.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things that has to happen, right? When you have the advantage in the early game, you have to be able to control it and keep it. And we just didn't see that. We just slowly started seeing it slip out of their fingers, and they weren't able to catch it back. And when you have that advantage, you got to play passive. Wait for BTK to make more mistakes. You already have the advantage. No need to overextend, because they're not a team that really makes too many mistakes. So when they make one, you have to profit on it and still play patiently.
I almost want to say I'm of the opposite mind, because for me, if you have a Uranus in your base and you've made the decision, all right, Uranus is in our base, I don't want to have everybody go back there, then you need to punish BTK. You need to put that pedal to the metal. You need to make sure that you make it worth it, because T is going to be a monster at some point, and you want to make sure that BTK is like down and out before he comes back. They were able to punish them, but they weren't able to transition a lot of those kills into many objectives. I think they only had 1 tower by the time T finally came online, and it wasn't too much for BTK to kind of turn that around and start the domination. So if you're going to allow something like that, you need to have a tit for tat. You need to have something that you're doing to make them pay for it.
I agree. I mean, when you looked at T inside of the base, right, he wasn't just cutting his minion, he was cutting the mid lane minion as well. So when you do that, you create so much opportunity for your mid lane to roam around free. And, you know, with the tank mage synergy, it definitely works in their favor. So you have to kind of watch out for that. You mentioned if you're going to allow him to be in your base, then yes, rotate around. And make them pay, right? They're down a member. He's just farming the minions, so go get the kill, get the trade. Don't just allow it to happen without an answer.
Yeah, and it's just it's a remarkable thing. I can't even tell what I would prefer, because I almost can make the argument that you'd want to get T out of your base, because you're not only farming T, but like you said, you're creating that pressure in the two lanes. Two lanes now don't have minions coming to them, so you've got mid pressure, you've got XP pressure. That's two people on the enemy team, or that's two people on the enemy team that are free to roam about while you have to answer it. You could make the argument for answering it or trying to make BTK play. Unfortunately, it's felt like Avalon didn't make the correct decision there, as a BTK just is so strong and able to turn things around regardless of the kills they took in that early game.
And I think, you know, kind of to top onto that, like, I feel you have to make that decision, whether you can go both ways like you mentioned, but you have to make the decision fast. You can't take time and think about it, because BTK is not going to give you that time to think about it. You just got to respond. Right? So hopefully with the next match, we kind of see that. I will say something that looked promising for Avalon is it wasn't a one-sided story. Yes, there were things that worked in BTK's favor, but there were things that we've seen work in Avalon's favor as well. The early game, they were looking nice. They took the first 2 turtles. They took the first turret as well. But then, like you said, once T started getting more comfortable rotating around with that Uranus, he was able to kind of delay 2 of those lanes. They were able to rotate it around, even it up, and then take the advantage. So maybe even not allowing them to get the Uranus could be a possible answer, or finding somebody who can match the mobility to either match the cut or deny it.
Well, and that's why I said I really kind of respected the pick from a BTK to kind of match. He basically, like, I want to say, like, the big thing about Victor is he kind of played, well, most of his XP games, or where he was noteworthy, was from M3. A meta where Uranus and Esmeralda were basically king of the hill when it came to the XP lane. He still kind of has that same kind of play mentality where he wants to cut lanes, he wants to be able to rotate quickly. So what BTK did is they said, all right, we're gonna match that, but we're gonna do it just harder. Uranus isn't just gonna cut a lane, he's gonna be inside the enemy base. So we're gonna beat him at his own game there. And that's kind of like what I said, when it comes to some of these first picks, they kind of had it matched up where I definitely want to see a lane here from Avalon kind of winning. I do like that they picked up the Uranus here. They're going to go ahead and take that away from T. We're going to see, though, if they can have the same type of success, because on the flip side, while Uranus does have that dominating presence, he can leave himself open in the early game to get ganked and cut down. And if you shut down Uranus early, he has trouble climbing that hill if he's behind.
Yeah, and speaking of things, the draft on the way, Mobazane is going to go ahead and pick up that Fredrin, something that he's kind of been known to dominate on. Definitely can work in their advantage. Another interesting thing is the Kaja being slotted in. It wasn't banned out this time. They're going to pick it up, which means suppression will be on the table. Now, this time, Avalon has the Uranus. We got to see how they respond. Who are they going to put head-to-head in the XP lane? Because we know when you see the Uranus, the goal is to outcut and create the space for the opportunity in the engagements.
I almost feel like maybe because my biggest question here was, how was us Chicken gonna have the same success here as a roam as he has in other lanes here, and that he had yesterday? What Chicken has done in answer to maybe not being as comfortable on the roam is like, all right, I'll just play roam, but I'll play fighters in the roam position, heroes that I know how to play, and I'll put that in the roam position. Maybe that's something that we can like punish him for if we're on the side of Avalon. Start getting a little rotations a little faster, start getting that vision that we need, and maybe punish him for heroes that don't exactly have the greatest setting potential here. I do see that we have picked up the Fredrin and the Kaja. We're gonna have a nice bit of CC. I'm wondering if the Kaja, if that's going to be fried chicken on the Kaja. It's gonna be very interesting to see how we kind of pull that off here. Going for a little bit more of a thicker lineup from the side of Avalon. We've got the Heart Guard from the Angela here. That's gonna kind of subset this tankier lineup from them.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? You're looking at a very sustainable draft so far from Avalon. You have the Boxia, as you say, a beefy hero, alongside Twinks on the Uranus, and then you stack it up with an Angela to be able to heal them up. The later this goes, the beefier they'll get, so they're definitely going to need something more of a tank burster on the side of BTK with some anti-heal on top of that. Now, looking at the Farza, this is interesting, right? I mean, Avalon kind of has answers for it. You have mobility when it comes to the 5v5 engagements. You can use the Boxia, you can use the Uranus to try and get down there and delay that Feather Airstrike, but we still haven't seen the Marksman slotted in, and late game is kind of what Avalon is going to need, so maybe even picking up a Claude, which has not been banned out so far, could work in their favor to get to Yato when it comes to that late game, because they like to play it slow, right? The last game, it wasn't a 10-minute finish like the first series that we watched. It was about, what, 17 minutes, which means I'm expecting them to take this slow, take the little advantages they can, and draw this out to the late game. Maybe what we see again if history repeats itself.
The only thing I see here right now that kind of worries me is we've picked up Uranus, Angela, and Boxia. We haven't even picked up a mage yet, and we already have 3 heroes that have magic damage on the team. So what are we gonna do? So are we gonna get a mage, possibly change that out with another hero that doesn't have magic damage? Because if you pick up a mage, magic damage, you're gonna be basically letting Bloodthirsty Kings kind of focus on one part of defense that it comes out to. It's going to be very interesting here. We have the last bans here. I was definitely expecting that carry ban out there too, especially when you've got that thicker lineup. Carry who can use that speedy light wheel, burst through that true damage that she can do to tank your heroes, especially when it comes to the late game, is just super detrimental. Both teams, full bans are out, waiting for their next picks.
I think Claude, it definitely could be a good answer for BTK, right? You need somebody to kind of burst down the beefier composition and provide sustainability. Now, Claude could work on both sides of the table, though, which is why I think it would probably benefit them to pick it up. But no, they're going to go for the Brody. That would have been my second option. I think it's still a great survivable hero. It has the burst potential and the late game presence. But now the question is, what will Avalon do to respond? You're looking at BTK. Early game is checked off. You have the Farza. You can rotate to the side lanes. You have mobility. Drop down the Feathered Airstrike. Possibly get a pick off. Avalon does respond, though. They are going to secure this Beatrix.
Yeah, we have the, okay. So, I'm going to assume maybe the Angela is going to be the mid. So good call by Avalon because I mean, Angela, and not a lot of people know this, but her early game is actually pretty crazy with the stacks that she can put on from the wave that she puts out. Not only heals your teammates, but it puts stacks on the enemy where they just start taking more and more damage. Once you start getting into that early game, she can actually surprise a lot of people, and you're going to have a global presence with her. Now that we know that it's going to probably be mid there, I do like the draft a lot better here. On the other side, BTK, he's going to go ahead and pick up Dyroth. We haven't seen a good old-fashioned Dyroth counter to Uranus in a while, but it is a counter. We're going to see if it kind of lands up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of it if pulled off correctly. I think it definitely can stop Victor. If he's out of place and you get that early burst damage, you can take him down and punish him, but if not played correctly, if you see them get the early game farm, it could be a potential problem, right? If that Uranus can't cut, he may be able to create that advantage that we've seen in the last game. But ladies and gentlemen, we are now jumping in to Avalon up against BTK. Game number 2 of Stage 3, Day 2. Currently BTK at match point.
Yeah, I want to say, like, when it comes to, like, the casters' predictions and stuff, even though, like, some of ours were going towards BTK, I think a lot of us agreed that if BTK was going to get beaten, this would be where it would be, when you have them on kind of uncomfortable heroes, and it's all on Avalon to kind of make that true. You can see here, T actually taking a load of damage from the duo of Victor and Demon.
Yeah, definitely punishing him. Not a good look so far in the early game, but he still hasn't fallen, so definitely gonna have to keep our eyes on the XP lane. But so far, right, we gotta see how Yato plays into this with the Farza. He does have the advantage considering he's going up against the Angela when it comes to bursting them down with the Feathered Airstrike. But speaking of burst, Chicken caught by Demon. First blood in the hands of Avalon.
And that might have been a little bit of that experience that we were talking about. Chicken maybe not as knowing when it comes to the distance and what he needs to do to kind of keep himself out of harm's way while still providing that damage or that vision for BTK. Big damage coming out. Mobazane able to actually, thankfully, Avalon able to get out, suffering an Appraiser's wrath for their troubles.
And you know, something that we gotta mention too is Mobazane is running the Fredrin. This is not just any Fredrin. This is MOBA Fred, right? This is something he's comfortable running on. And it could be a deciding factor. My goodness! The gank on the way! The 4-man rotation on the basic! That is insane as Mobazane draws the kill, evening up the scoreboard 1-1.
so fast and bloodthirsty. It was a bloodthirsty King's sandwich down there, and they were able to take down Basic before he was able to say, I'm not hungry.
And now Avalon, though, responding, will be able to secure the turtle. So they did get a trade off of that, right? We lost our gold lane, but at least we got the first neutral objective. Now, you don't want to keep losing your gold lane, though. You want them to be able to scale through time and kind of carry you guys through with these engagements. But so far, still 1-1, 2 minutes in. Who will be able to take charge of this game? As you are going to see, the finish phase drops down with the wild charge. Ooh. Basic finds Mobazane. Now going to increase the kill lead in their favor for Avalon.
Yeah, and that kill going over to Basic. So they suffer a kill. Basic takes a death and able to kind of regrow it back up there with a kill of his own. Up at the top here, this is what we were talking about. A good counter for Uranus, unless Dyroth starts getting behind, then he's going to have trouble. Not only that, but you're losing the optimal time that Dyroth has to counter because Dyroth is, oh my god, look at the damage.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of said. It's high risk, high reward, but when the Uranus has a better head start, he starts to scale a little bit more, and now T will have a little bit of a struggle, but the Feather Airstrike going down from Yato, canceled out from Tarzan, but he's still there to help T out, not allowing the full proxy of the lane.
Yeah, and this is the problem too, because he's got the early, he's trying to put some damage on the Victor, but he's got the early game, but he doesn't really shine. The Dyroth doesn't really shine in team fights. He's so squishy. When you have more than one target out there, he's gonna have trouble. Oh, actually leading on to T. This might be another sandwich here for Avalon.
Victor far behind enemy lines. The Divine Judgment with the Suppression Heart Guard just in time to keep him alive. You're going to see the Praise Wrap drop down. T is going to find Victor. That's going to be one member falling for Avalon, but do they get out? Tarzan falls. T picking up a double on the Dyroth.
That's a tough play for Avalon. They had it for a second, but they waited too long to pull the trigger. BTK comes up with 4 members and not even the Heart Guard able to kind of keep them updated. You saw that abyssal strike from Dyroth, able to kind of, he pretty much landed on the whole of Avalon there as we're chunking away at this bottom tower.
Yeah, and this is looking scary for ISO so far. Basic definitely just got fed off of stripping all that gold off of the turret, but the torn apart memories trying to seal the deal. Won't be able to take down Twinks. He will go back to safety. Corrosive strike from ISO on a Tarzan on the chase. Is going to get the slow. Not going to be able to draw the kill. Mobazane will go ahead and secure the turtle for BTK. Feather airstrike from Yato, forcing Tarzan back with barely HP, but he survives to tell another story.
Unbelievable that nobody fell between both of these teams for that engagement. I do like the ability rotation by ISO, putting on a lot of these abilities, but saving. Oh, who just got taken? What just happened there?
1v1, Victor takes down T. The Uranus takes down the Dyroth.
Oh man, this doesn't speak well. Like we said, early game usually goes to Dyroth. If you're losing that early game, we could be looking at what we saw in game 1, where Victor is going to start getting farmed up on this Uranus and become a monster through the mid game against the Bloodthirsty Kings.
And right now, 3-3 on the scoreboard, 5 minutes in. First turtle, actually both teams claiming a turtle, so we can pretty much say they're even on the scoreboard. But when we're looking at the items in the economy and on the top side, the 1v1 matchup, Victor is profiting.
Yeah, doing a good job. You could see already that ISO having a little bit of a problem. He's about 1k gold behind Basic. He did take that little bit of an early kill. Bloodthirsty Kings had the idea at the beginning to start putting pressure at that bottom lane, but it does look like they've kind of waned on that, and Basic is starting to get really farmed up. So you're going to have a problem when you have Basic and Victor when it comes into this mid lane. No full items yet for either of those players yet, though.
Yeah, you mentioned Basic, right? Already up 1,000 gold on top of ISO right now, and I think it kind of started when he stripped all that gold off the turret for the bottom side. They're definitely going to have to keep their eyes on him. He will be a deciding factor, but speaking of deciding factor, Divine Judgment going in, and the full team of BTK shuts down Twinks. ISO drawing the kill.
Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of trying to grab somebody like a Grok into that Divine Judgment, but when you have the 4 members of Bloodthirsty Kings, the target lock, the focus on it, they burst him down like he was a minion. Now we're going to have a little problems. Maybe T in trouble.
Yeah, does get stunned from Demon. 2v1 is going to miss the Abysm Strike. Tries to get out, but hit by the Cheese Bowl. Victor takes him down. T does fall, even up the scoreboard 4-4, but BTK claiming the next turtle.
Yeah, and it just seems like BTK's a little bit of a step ahead. They're losing, they're having problems with T and Dyroth, especially in that lane. They're pushing. Avalon is punishing BTK, but on the other side, BTK starting to get objectives and answering back. It's just gonna see when the smoke clears who has done more damage when it comes to the map presence and objectives by the time these power spikes start to hit.
And I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Basic, right? Looking at Avalon, I mean, he was able to clear up pretty much the entire top side. He took the tier 2, he took the first turret as well, and he's definitely starting to scale against the other marksmen. ISO, but speaking of scaling, wait a minute! Toinks last minute with the wild charge and the hard guard escape.
Yeah, and this is kind of the issue sometimes. I saw this a little bit with Ackerman too. Toinks has a problem sometimes when it comes to a few of these, checking some of these bushes when his team isn't in a position to capitalize here. A little bit of engagement at bottom.
Yeah, T having a hard time. Tarzan trying to give him the slightest advantage. We'll be able to claim the turret for the bottom lane.
Yeah, and unfortunately, T having a bad way. Mobazane coming in, putting on the damage.
Is going to take down Basic. Toinks may not be able to get out of there. Mobazane looking for a little bit more. Forcing out the flicker from Toinks last minute, but turrets are falling.
Yeah, turrets are starting to fall. It seems like Bloodthirsty Kings have kind of recovered a little bit. Now T, no longer in the laning phase right now, is free to kind of move about and get those solo pushes in there. Big wild charge.
For the knockup on ISO, he's just a one-man army for that lane, but now BTK for the backup. Chicken, Zane, and ISO. Yato from afar with the feather airstrike. They do claim that tier 2 turret for the top lane. May be able to get a kill as well. You are going to see the hard guard on the Tarzan, but ISO with torn apart memories for the denial will shut him down. Can't out-heal this damage. T is going to claim a turret. Mobazane is going to find Basic. ISO takes down Demon. That is going to be a 3-for-none trade in favor for BTK.
Yeah, a huge Appraiser's Wrath by Mobazane.
Whoa!
And finally, T coming online, finally able to get that kill onto Victor's Uranus there. And it looks like BTK have finally found their stride in this game.
Yeah, they definitely found their groove, and they don't plan on stopping anytime soon. Avalon, though, this is not looking good, right? What was once kind of an even matchup is slowly, again, slipping out of their fingers. This is looking more of a repetitive pattern from what we've seen in Game 1.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate with some of those mistakes. Avalon had that early game. They were doing great when it came to the macro. Basic was doing a good job of taking down the towers and rotating and making BTK pay. A lot better than we had in the first game, unfortunately.
Oh, T has done it. He's taken down Victor. Do they get another? T does fall. Basic with the Numir's Passion to secure the kill.
Yeah, right now 5-10, just under a 5K gold lead for BTK. We're gonna be looking for possibly some sets. We're gonna be looking at Toinks to possibly try to find something here when it comes to this defense to try to initiate these fights without being taken out. The problem is Toinks, with some of these checks that he's been doing, he gets caught. Bloodthirsty Kings throw on a Divine Judgment, they pull him back, and they take him out before these engagements even start. What we need is to have Toinks be able to wait before these engagements starts, get the set, and then possibly we'd be able to turn these things around for BTK.
And, I mean, looking at Mobazane, he's almost level 15. He is 3 levels ahead of Tarzan right now on the jungle, and it just goes to show the king of the farm making the most out of the opportunity. We haven't really seen him too much in this game. He's just been focusing on outscaling, and now this is where he's going to shine, right? Can still play on the bottom side with the Lord competing with them for BTK. They are going to open up the base and drop down the inhibitor turret.
Yeah, the problem that we've gotten now is that we're at a point where your thickest member, Victor, is not able to survive these fights without the heart guard from Angela. And the problem with that is now you know where that heart guard's going to go, so you're free to kind of burst down the rest of these members when it comes to these engagements. Now we're at the high ground towers, 2 left.
Ooh, Yato with the feather airstrike is going to find Toinks. Maybe able to get another Tarzan trying to get out, but T with the flicker in and the chase. Abysm Strike does go in for another, but no. Basic for the denial. That is going to be a 2-for-1 trade, but they are not finished yet. You're going to see the inhibitor for the mid lane fall in favor for BTK, and the top side dropped by ISO. BTK stepping in the door for Avalon. May be able to close this out. They have the numbers. They have the minions. They have the damage. They just need a little bit more time. 50% HP, 25. A sweep on the way as BTK shuts down Avalon.
Ooh, it's crazy to say this game ended earlier than the last game, but I felt like Avalon put up a better fight this time. They were more aggressive, faster. They were taking objectives, but those tiny little mistakes, getting caught and getting bursted down, some of the rotations, they went to top lane, they didn't react fast enough, and then BTK was able to rotate back there. A great effort, but ultimately BTK showing why they are second place here in North America.
Yeah, I mean, stats don't lie, and apparently the scoreboard doesn't either when it comes to the point system for the NACT fall. Just another excellent game from BTK. Avalon, though, they do show some promising signs, but like you mentioned, it's the slight minor mistakes that catches them when it comes to the top caliber teams such as BTK or TOB, who's right ahead of them on the totem pole.
Yeah, we can see here, I mean, a great game here played, but man, ISO 4-0-4. And I even want to say, a lot of pressure put on his lane. They had a great bit of top presence for Avalon, but even toward the end, starting to come in clutch, even being able to use that Dairoth to do his job. His only job was to take out Victor. And whether that was diving through towers to do it into the enemy base, he did it, got shut down by Basic, but I mean, he did his job, and that's kind of, that's what I like about the BTK draft here, is that they had these isolated little jobs that they were trying to succeed with, regardless if they took a kill.
Yeah, and just looking at the backlines for BTK, definitely focus on staying alive. Neither of them died, but now as we are looking at a little bit of a blast from the past, a replay and what led to this beautiful victory for BTK, the fight on the top side, just showing the target prioritization. Not even the hard guard could save him. Ice with the 20-part memories takes down Tarzan, but look at that huge Appraiser's Wrath from Mobazane, the triple damage, and finds Basic. ISO takes down Demon, but that again, a 3-for-none trade. Even though it wasn't a high kill game, just textbook plays from BTK.
Yeah, and that's the problem too, and that's why Zane is so scary on that Fredrin, especially once they start getting ahead. If you're not able to burst down Fredrin, all you're doing is giving him time to line up that Appraiser's Wrath. You saw it there, basically chunked down 3 members of Avalon there. As we take a look here at the post-game stats, we see.
That's right, Mr. Rich Guy being ISO, the carry being Yato. This time, though, it's not a full BTK panel, as Victor, I guess you could say, who's prior BTK, is going to be the sandbag and the forgotten one, the king himself of the jungle, Mobazane.
Yeah, I mean, a great game. And I mean, almost kind of like Victor showing like he was a BTK here. I mean, he's still able to kind of put all up those stats, but once your team gets so far behind, even a Uranus isn't going to be able to do much when it comes to this Dairoth. We can see here some clips from the first win for BTK here. And this is what we were talking about. This is that amazing play where they focus down Basic. He comes in for that blazing duet, and immediately the whole team swarms on him and eats him up. And then that snipe down onto Demon here from Yato. Amazing play. Zoop. Taken out. But and then we have the next game here that we just watched.
Yeah, that feather airstrike from Yato. Again, a more of a dominant fashion for BTK, just holding all the cards toward that mid-game. ISO takes down Tarzan, just showing their comfortability. Mobazane again with that huge Appraiser's Wrath. The Mobile Fred walking around, dominating the land of Dawn, just showing you that they are ready to take it to the LA stage.